Welcome to Working Towards Our Purpose. This is episode 68, and today we are going to talk about accountability buddies, especially in the age of technology and AI. So before we get into the episode, we are going to check in with ourselves and see how we're feeling. So take a moment and just see how you're feeling, see if you're holding tension anywhere, see what your mood's like. For me, I am still kind of going through this interesting interesting thing that I seem to be getting really inspired and creative and lots of output. And then I'm also having bouncing between a higher level of anxiety than I'm used to. So that's been interesting, and trying to take that gently. And instead of having another cup of coffee today, I got some herbal tea that's good for stress and anxiety. So trying to take it gently. It took me a little bit longer to get this episode planned out today, but that's okay. Being gentle and trying to treat myself well and not harshly. So yeah. Getting into today's episode, we're talking about accountability buddies. And this is something that I've always had, not always, but I've had an accountability buddy for a long time, and it hasn't always been the same person. But it's something that kind of I noticed came about when I was trying to work my side business, and I had one before I left corporate. And I had one through corporate, and then kind of had a different person after corporate, and maybe more than one now. But I think it's important, and I think it's important to talk about because, especially today with AI and I can see somebody being well, what's the point? I'll just have AI do it. I'll have an AI accountability buddy. And in my opinion, that it doesn't work that way. I don't think you can do that. So first off, what is an accountability buddy? It's somebody that you go through it with. It's somebody that you not only holds you accountable and you meet regularly. Usually for me, it's been at least weekly. It's somebody who is going through something that you're going through, whether it's maybe you're both creative, maybe you're both musicians, maybe you're both starting a business or growing a YouTube channel. It's somebody that's trying to go through the same thing that you are. And you have usually similar values, similar ambition and goals and visions of what you want to do. And this sort of helps you to inspire each other because you're both reaching for this thing in the future. So for me, that's always been helpful to have somebody there who's who kind of gets what I'm trying to do. And it's just really validating and helpful to have somebody there with you through the lows and the highs. And just as a sort of feedback and things to bounce off of, and just always been really helpful. For some reason, as I was saying that, I thought about communities growing up, and my first episode of this podcast was with Steve Roberts, and he talked about being a skateboarder growing up and how he found real community as a young person in skateboarding. And that kind of is accountability. Because you're hanging out with people who like the same things you do. Maybe you're interested in learning a new trick or whatever. And you have this person who's going through it with you and understands you at that, sort of wherever you're at. And I think the same thing is true for musicians and people playing in music young and trying to make it as a band. And I remember recording that episode and being sort of envious of that, envious that he had that sort of community when he was younger, that he could be himself around and grow into who he wanted to grow into. So I sort of see an accountability buddy kind of like that, and it's somebody that you can feel yourself with, and you can say your crazy ideas and it's not like looked at weird, and they kind of understand you. So why are accountability buddies important now that we know what they are? To me, we've kind of always been told like, or encouraged to kind of like do things alone. Whether it's like working on a school project and you're in a group and like nobody wants to do the work. So then like the teacher's like, well, then you just do it, or you just figure out like, well, you have to do it all. And then you're kind of hurt by that experience. Maybe it's in work or something. And then you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. I can't rely on anybody. I can't trust anybody. And I think I thought like that for a while. And when I was building my side business, I was operating like that. And I thought that I could do everything myself until I met my first accountability buddy. And he basically asked me, he was like, hey, do you want to like do this together? Like, do you want to meet weekly? And that sort of changed things for me because I never thought to do that. So we met for like 3 years, pretty much every single week. I don't know that we ever skipped a week. And it was really helpful. It really helped me along to talk things out, to, not feel crazy for like wanting to leave my corporate job. And like, also like now that I'm thinking back, the biggest thing was like the harnessed anger. We were both really angry at our corporate jobs and we didn't understand like the environment of a corporate situation, and the both of us just like wanted to leave so bad, and that anger kind of fueled me to actually make that change. So that was super helpful for me. And then once I ended up actually leaving, it kind of didn't really serve me any longer, and I sort of drifted away and ended up finding some other accountability buddies that are really great. And yeah, so why can't AI replace this? Like, sure, you can have an AI like calendar and tells you meet weekly, checks in on you, whatever. I'm sure there's something you can do physically to like be checked in on and to be held accountable. But I think that the most important thing of accountability partner isn't just the strategy or the like accountability part of it. It's the being seen and heard by somebody who understands you. And this is something that AI cannot do. It can't see you and understand you're going through a human experience because it's going through its own human experience. Only a person can do that. So I think the most important part of having the accountability buddy is, like I said, being seen and heard. And when you're going through it and you're down, or you're discouraged, having somebody there to like talk that out with allows you to move through it faster. It allows you to get rid of it. It allows you to speak it and then move on to the next thing, to be encouraged. And I think that that's really something that we all need. We all need to be surrounded by, good influences, and we're human. We want to make connections with humans, and having an accountability partner is like a forced connection every week. It's like you put it in the calendar. We're meeting every week and we're going to talk, and we're going to show up however we are. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think for me, this podcast is almost like a bit of an accountability buddy, accountability partner, because even though today this took me a little bit longer to get through the planning of this podcast, and maybe I didn't feel as prepared or whatever, negative thoughts can come in, but I want to show up and I want to talk about what I feel like I should talk about today. And here I am. So, I guess thank you to listening and being my accountability buddy in that way. So yeah, we'll get a little bit more back on track now. What was the last thing that I wanted to say? Yeah, so I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say about like why I think accountability buddies are important, and especially, why we can't replace them with technology. Just the aspect of being seen and heard and having a conversation. I do think that it is better to have like an in-person accountability buddy, but I have done it over the phone before, and that's okay too. But there's just something about like being in person with somebody and kind of meeting somebody face to face that helps you be more authentic, more vulnerable, more honest with your struggles, and to get more human connection, to get more feeling of you're not alone. So I think that's really, really helpful. That was the last thing I kind of wanted to caveat before we get into some steps of like, how do you find an accountability buddy? Because maybe you don't have one, and maybe you want to find somebody like this. Maybe this sounds great, but you're like, well, what do? I don't have anybody. Well, the first thing I think that you can do, I kind of have 3 steps to finding an accountability buddy. First one is to look where you are. And, maybe you do have a friend who does have similar ambitions. Maybe it's like not a close friend. Maybe it's like a friend of a friend, or somebody that you admire or noticed. Maybe it's like a family member, or maybe like a distant cousin or something. Maybe there's somebody that like you see and sort of admire. And I think that that's part of it too, is like, it's like seeing somebody or finding somebody that almost you are admiring, and then you're kind of offering this to them. And because that's kind of how my first accountability partner was. Like, we were in this class and he heard me talking, and he kind of came up to me afterwards and he was like, hey, I see that you actually have a business here, and everybody else is kind of just talking about one. Like, let's forget this next class. Let's just go meet and talk about like our actual businesses. So I think that that's helpful here. I've just sidetracked myself with that story. But that's to say, like, to look where you are, because there might be somebody where you are already that you can sort of ask or propose it to. And even if they say no, that's okay. You can find somebody else. But to kind of look where you are. Another thing that comes to mind is like, especially with the gym, like if you go to a gym, likely you'll kind of see familiar faces. You usually go at like a similar time. Perhaps somebody there, like, maybe you notice somebody who's there every single time you are, and maybe you never talked to them before, but you could sort of go up to them, have a conversation with them, maybe propose a gym accountability buddy if that's something you're looking for. For me, like, there's, I have like a running route that I do, just run kind of in the same place every Tuesdays or Monday, whatever, twice a week. And I noticed there's this other guy that I usually pass by, and he's always really kind and like waves to me and smiles. Like that's a perfect example. Like, if I wanted like a running accountability person, then that's sort of maybe a good start. Maybe I could try to find out how to talk to him when he's not on a run, or, I guess tracking him down wouldn't be great, but I'm sure there's a way. And then, so the second thing you could do is to speak out loud what your desires are or what you're interested in. Because I think you attract like minds, and you can sort of, if you're talking about something that you're passionate about or interested in, people who are also interested in those things will start to notice you. That's why I confused myself with that story, because the story I just told about my first accountability buddy actually pertains to this one. So little off, but point being, I was saying something that like I was doing. I think we like pulled up my website or something in this class, and we started like talking through like marketing or something for my business. So because I volunteered and I was like willing to talk about it, we attracted each other, and we would have never met if I kept quiet. And that's 3 years of an accountability partner that I wouldn't have had if I didn't speak up. So yeah, I think it's important to talk about the things that you're into. And then the third thing would be to go to events that you will find like-minded people. And again, same story. Like, I went to this event, it was like for business, something to do with business. And I was like starting my side business. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this free class. They're going to talk about business in some way. And because I went to that event, I found my accountability partner who was like-minded. And I think like putting yourself out there a little bit and going to go take a class or to go do something that you're interested in that maybe you wouldn't normally, or maybe it's a networking event or a get together, anything really, like even a show or a concert. You can meet people that you wouldn't have met otherwise, but you know that you're going to align on similar values based on the type of event that you're going to. So I think that could be really helpful. And yeah, lastly, I also want to say too that like I do think it is important to like specify the accountability buddy, like to have it in a certain area. Like I mentioned to you before, like if you want like somebody to keep you accountable at the gym, then like that's a specific thing. Or if it's like a business, that's another specific thing. I think it kind of does have to have some specificity to it, as far as like niching, or maybe that's a bad word, but if it's like for a business thing, then you want to find somebody who's like also trying to build a business. Or like for me, if I'm thinking about like if I should think of like where can I get an accountability buddy now that I would need, it would be like a YouTube creator. Like if I found somebody who was doing YouTube and maybe they did it for longer than me or whatever, they're trying to build a YouTube channel. I don't really have any YouTube friends. So because I'm trying to build my YouTube channel and I want to grow that, if I had other people who were doing YouTube, then I would have somebody to like bounce ideas off of, or work back and forth with. And if we met weekly, there's something that is helpful to us both trying to do the same thing. If I learn something on a video, then I can like bring that to that person and they can tell me what they learned that maybe I didn't pick up. And it just helps you sort of get along further and make more progress with the same amount of time. So yeah, I do think that's important. Now that I'm thinking about like how I could do that, because trying to like not just say advice, but actually like what would that look like? For me, I think it would have to be an online community. So maybe that's the fourth thing. Maybe you can find maybe an online community of people who are doing the same thing as you. And maybe, I guess if I were to think about YouTube, I would want to see if there's any like, I'm sure there's like YouTube summits and like events or like, weekend sort of things where like people go and like you talk about all YouTube stuff, like Expo, that's another thing. If I went to one of those things, likely I would run into somebody who had similar passions, and it might spark a sort of friendship that leads to something else and leads to like an accountability sort of friendship. So yeah, if I were to do it about YouTube, that's kind of how I would do it, like live thinking on my feet. That's how I would find a YouTube accountability buddy. So yeah. And then lastly, I kind of just want to close with like, I think it is important that like you're making sure that you match values, and then you can have honest and open communication with this person, because that's going to lead to the growth. Like being able to be honest with your feelings, like, hey, I'm really like down today. I feel like I should just give it up. Being able to have those sorts of conversations with somebody is where progress will be made. So you need to make sure that you feel like it's an open space and you can sort of voice your feelings, because that's to me important when we're trying to make changes and we're trying to build things. So I did want to caveat that. And then also lastly, sometimes you do need to make a change. Sometimes an accountability buddy that served you for a while, you can be appreciative for, and you can still be grateful for that time, but maybe they don't serve you anymore. And maybe you don't serve each other anymore is more likely. And sometimes you need to make a change, and that's okay too. So yeah, I encourage you to, if you don't have, maybe try to find an accountability buddy for a project that you're working on, or maybe if you want to do something more creative, find a creativity accountability buddy. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have an accountability buddy, and tell me like your origin story, how you met, because I feel like that's always important. And it's always kind of a cool story, I think. So yeah, leave a comment about your YouTube, no, sorry. Leave a comment about your accountability buddy origin story. Wow, having really trouble speaking here. All right, I think that's enough for me today. One last thing that I wanted to bring up that I just thought of today. I want to do sort of a what's the word? Like a giveaway. That's the word. Wow, I'm really struggling with my words. So I got a bunch of these working towards our purpose stickers in the mail, and I don't know what to do with them. So if you want one of these stickers, send me a message on Instagram on Working Towards Our Purpose. If you don't follow me already, follow me and send me a message and tell me an address where you want me to send this sticker, and I'll send you a couple of these things. The only thing I ask is if you follow me on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So yeah, maybe send me a screenshot of you subscribe to my YouTube channel and then send me a message on Instagram, and I will send you a couple stickers if you're interested. So thanks for listening. Thanks for getting through it today with me. I feel like I was a little brain fogged, but hopefully we got some good points and hopefully it was helpful. And I will see you on another episode real soon. Thank you.